context. Now, the Corps isn't part of the decision to turn them on. If the district decided not to turn them on, there are operating levels in the water control plan to achieve the project purposes for which the federal government paid for those. You know, we never test it if we just don't turn them on. Will the Corps come in and make you turn them on when you get above flood stage? In terms of context, the land elevation in places like Belglade is maybe 10. So when the canal that serves Belglade's at 12 and a half, their system isn't working very well. And there's a lot of standing water in the cities, and that's the only reason these pumps are turned on anymore. No one likes back pumping, more for the political heat that it generates. Farmers don't need back pumping, don't push back pumping. Cities have to have it because they live right there where the pump stations are. And you don't like seeing the canal a couple feet above your land.
Can I, and to your point, that the reason why nobody likes back pumping, should we assume, is that because, I mean, besides the fact that we want water to flow south, should we assume it's because the water that would be back pumped from the EAA has more contaminants or whatever than what might even be coming out of the lake? Is that why nobody likes it? I assume the answer is yes.
Well, there's a lot of different reasons. The water coming from the EAA is cleaner than the other water that comes in the lake. Sometimes it's even cleaner than what's in the lake, but that's not always true. It depends on the storm. There's a little bit of history you probably don't have to live through, but in 1978, the Florida Wildlife Federation sued the district over the operation of those two pumps, trying to shut them down. That led to the first state permit that constrained the use and pushed all the water south. So that's kind of how it got started. It wasn't a great deliberation and a whole lot of science. It was Florida Wildlife Federation didn't want the water in the lake. And the district was able to operate in a way to send most of it south. By the way, that's a lot more water, and it all goes to Dade County. And that Southlake Conveyance System we talked about earlier that doesn't work so well, it really, weaknesses show when you start sending extra water down there. But
I think we've confirmed, though, that pump is a last resort sort of emergency measure and not being used
right, and no one
with any sort of regularity. Is that correct to say?
Yeah, and I don't think anyone disputes that, and the operations bear that out.
And I don't know what you do today. I know back in the day we used to notify the governing board too that we were getting ready to back pump. So that there were several checks in the process that we notified people to let them know that we were at a point we needed to turn the pump on.
Tom, let me, Tom number 2. You just made a comment that the water that comes out of the EA sometimes is cleaner than the water that comes into the EA. When you say that comes out of the EA, meaning before it gets to the SDAs or after it gets to the SDAs?
This was in the context of pumping into the lake, so it doesn't go to an SDA, and it's not always cleaner, but there are much dirtier inflows to the lake that always go there from the north side.
Let me, I think one of the issues with back pumping is that the water, people get confused about concentrations, whether it's cleaner or dirtier, but I think if you just look at how many pounds of this material, of pollutants, the nitrogen and phosphorus, that the Everglades agricultural area, this back pumping, it was disproportionately high compared to the volume of water. So it was a major source of nitrogen and phosphorus that's at a higher fraction than you'd expect from the quantity of water you pumped in. So the discontinuing back in 1983 when they implemented the interim action plan was because of a water quality problem in Lake Okeechobee. These pumping from this set of pumps was considered one of the most important contributors of that. So they pumped it south to the Everglades. That's a different story. But I think certainly the water quality issue is a very important one related to back pumping.
But we can, for me at least, it makes me feel more comfortable to know that for 35 years, the back pumping issue has effectively been ceased but for an emergency.